All right, hello and welcome to the video. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube, but I had to try like 20 times to get this thing to record one video. It kept saying that it couldn't create the stream. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be discussing what do you do when your opponent crosses. A lot of times in a street fight or a street self-defense, they'll start with their strong hand because naturally everyone knows which hand they're strong at. And the two most common attacks are an overhand right haymaker and a right hook in street fights and schoolyard fights, especially for truly unskilled attackers. But I'm going to assume that they throw a right cross punch. All right. What do you do when you have a right cross punch coming in? Imagine that you're the attacker and I'm the defender. One thing you can do is step aside and parry like that. So I'm covering my chin and I parry. All right. And you can go ahead and grip with your arm with the other hand and you bring it down. And I've already passed a standing guard and can back fist them in the face and things of that nature. All right. And that's not allowed in boxing. And you don't see it a lot in MMA because you're not allowed to grab at the base of the gloves in MMA. It's against the rules to grab at the base of the gloves. And so you don't see that technique in MMA. The other reason you don't see it in MMA is because this video is not about how to beat a brown or black belt level fighter, and most MMA fighters range from purple belt to second degree black belt, don't they? So you're not expecting to pass the standing guard of hopefully not a purple, brown, or black belt fighter this easily. But if it's a street self defense, we're hoping that our opponent is not a pro fighter. Okay. So we're going to try to end it right away. So again, the punch comes in. I'm in a standing guard. I see the punch coming. I'm going to step at a 45-degree angle. I'm going to parry with this hand, and I'm going to come under with this hand and grip the punch. And then I'm going to immediately back face. And from the back fist, you can actually go into a reverse neck breaker if you can get a partner to test this on to see what I'm talking about. The reverse neck breaker will end the fight because you can slam their head into the pavement or whatever you want to do from there. Or you can, as a thing, if you're outnumbered 2 or 3 to 1, you might have to finish somebody off. So God help us if that's not the case. But if you have someone in a reverse neck breaker, which is their chest is facing up and your wrist is under their neck and their head is kind of pinned here, be careful they don't bite you. So you're going to need to do something to finish them pretty quick. You can, in fact, hammer fist down into their solar plexus, hammer fist down into their throat, punch them in the face, up under the chin. All right. So there's lots of things you can do to finish them off from there. Punch them in the throat. So let's see that again. All right. So I've got my standing guard, 45-degree angle stance. My feet are not quite perfect because I haven't done this in a long time. But so your standing guard is here. The punch comes in. You're going to step, parry, back fist. As you grip and pull down, you're going to pin their hand to your right hip in this case. And so what's going to happen is their weapons are going to be isolated. All right. Their opposite hand is going to be too far away to hit you in the face, but your near side hand is going to be close enough to hit them in the face over and over again, or to go into the reverse neck breaker, or to just go ahead and take their back and put a rear naked choke on them if you choke them out rather than snapping their neck or driving their head backwards into the concrete. All right. So that's one that we generally teach to white belts and yellow belts, assuming that they're hopefully fighting an unskilled attacker, a school bully who might be good at beating up unskilled kids, but isn't good at beating up someone who's had a couple months of training. All right. So another one is, of course, the overhand haymaker or the right hook. This you're going to block with either a middle block or a high angle block, like so. Be careful that you block with both bones, not just one bone, so you don't break your own arm. And you're going to step in as you block it, and you're going to grip under here and put them in a what's called a hammer lock, if I remember correct. The correct terminology is a hammer lock, and you're going to bend them over to the ground backwards. They're going to be in trouble, and once you get it on them, they can't get out of it. and you can take your free hand and deliver punches and palm strikes to the face or throat or solar plexus as you need to. That's three common attacks: the right hook, the right overhand haymaker, the bad overhand hammer fist. In other words, that everybody's seen somebody in a schoolyard fight throw that. And statistically, about 90% of all fights start with either a right hook or a right overhand haymaker. So you should train against it starting right away, because it's the most likely thing you're going to have to defend yourself against. Not always, though. All right, so that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying passing standing guard. Is yes, you can pass. I mean, by the time I was a brown belt, I could certainly pass the middle kyu standing guard even, and they had 6 months, a year and a half training, and I could pass their standing guard because I had 5 years training by then, almost 6.5 years training by the time I had to quit karate. But yes, I could pass a middle kyu standing guard when I sparred them. And it wasn't their fault. I just got to where back then I was 185 pounds, perfectly fit, and hadn't had 4 strokes like I've had since then. And I could move that fast. So if you're a heavily trained fighter, those are some things that you may or may not have seen that will work, that will go ahead and end a fight against an unskilled attacker. Am I saying that you should be able to beat a brown belt or a black belt like that? Probably not, unless they screw up or lose their footing or something. You're not going to finish them off that fast 9 times out of 10. But there are some tricks against black belts and brown belts that work, that are as simple as joint locks as well. But that's not what this video is about. And so thank you for watching the video. I think I've demonstrated what I was going to talk about on that forum. So let me do it once again, and plus you can do it to the opposite side too. So suppose that I got the same guard, but my opponent is throwing a different punch. They're throwing their jab off of their that would be their left or your left, my right. All right. So what I'm going to do here is the same deal. I'm going to step 45-degree angle. I'm going to parry. Let me step back here so you can see. I'm going to parry, and I'm going to come under and grip their hand. And I'm going to come up, in this case, I might go ahead and throw a knee strike as I pull back and pull their body into the knee strike. Okay. Plus, it would be a good idea for me to block my own groin to keep them from kicking me in the groin right there. All right. So that's the alternate version of it. And either way, you can pass their standing guard and take their back if they're an unskilled to moderately skilled fighter. If they're a heavily skilled fighter, it's not going to go that way. So just got to keep that in mind. But, most trained fighters don't tend to be bullies anyway, so hopefully you don't have to worry about the problem of fighting an expert fighter on the streets. Just be an expert yourself, and you should do good either way.